Welcome to Uccello's for today's media luncheon, and our players today, Jarrod Cox and Heath Parling, quarterback, and head coach Matt Mitchell. Coach, if you can open with some comments on the Indianapolis game, and then we'll move into Findlay.
Absolutely. Got off to another slow start in the first half. Offensively, we had some penalties that hurt us, a couple false starts, and then obviously we had the turnover when we were down inside the red zone again. Defensively, they threw a couple new things at us, had a scoring drive that basically was 2 plays with some new stuff we hadn't quite seen. So made some adjustments after that. We were able to stop the run okay. Went into down the locker room 21-7, and you know, the message was we still had not executed on either side of the ball or played to our potential. Second half, I'll give the offense a lot of credit. They executed very well. Both the third and fourth quarter. A lot of touchdowns, didn't really have to ever settle for any field goals. And, you know, really, I thought hopefully turned the corner a little bit when it comes to some of the execution and the things that they had to do on that side of the ball. Defensively, we struggled all night with the Mills kid, and you know, he's a good quarterback and he played well. And they had a receiver, Forney, that we struggled with too, number 12, that whether we were playing man or zone, we just had some difficulties. So it's a complete defensive lack of performance, and I'm not pinning it on any one certain position group. Did the DBs play as well as they need to play? No, but neither did our defensive line, and neither did our linebackers. You know, the most concerning thing I'd say for us on the defensive side of the ball coming out of the last couple weeks again has been our tackling has not been great, and we're not getting as much production out of our defensive line as I expect those guys to do. You know, I didn't look at the stats in terms of the sacks, but we didn't get very much pressure on Mills at all, and that makes life difficult in the back end of your defense, you know, when that's happening. So, end of the game, I'll give a lot of credit to Heath. He throws the pick. Defense goes out and gets a stop. They tried to fake a field goal, and we had good execution on that, and we got the stop, got the ball back. And you know, for his first time being really in that type of a pressure situation with the game on the line, I thought Heath did a good job of moving our offense down the field, distributing things. We ran it on some downs we needed to run it, but for the most part, Heath was throwing around, and he found Lorman for that vertical. So great job our offense giving us a chance to win. And then on the last drive defensively, we had a missed tackle that really hurt us. We could have kept the guy in bounds and kept the clock running and forced them to use the timeout. And then we just did not get enough depth with our linebackers, and our safeties didn't converge very well on the 2 passes. But if you watch it on tape, he had all day back there to throw it. And it's again, it's difficult to maintain coverage for the course of 3, 4, 5 seconds when you're in the back end of the defense. So it's not getting pinned on, we win as a team, we lose as a team. It's not getting pinned on one side of the ball. I definitely felt our offense made some progress from week 2 to week 3, especially in the second half. Our defense is still not where it needs to be, and we have to get back to work getting that done. So my message to the offense was, you're good, you're not good enough. Obviously you have to be better, because we're at a state right now with our defense where you're going to have to score, and you didn't score enough points on Saturday. So I'm not, again, going to pin anything on one side of the ball. We have to get better as a team. And the special teams, our kickoff coverage wasn't great. We had some opportunities on the kickoff return, which I thought we did okay. Punt team performed well. Punt return, Reggie got the ball and did some things with the ball. The missed extra point, that was more on our snap hold than it was on our kicker. That obviously at that point of the time kind of hurt things. It definitely changed the flow of the game, because we had to end up going for 2, and just throws you out of whack, and it put us in a little bit different situation than if things would have kept symmetrical with the scores being at 7s as things were moving forward. So moving forward to Findlay, we have an opportunity to come back home and get better. We've had great crowd support, we've had great fan support over the years here at Grand Valley, and I know we're 1 and 2, and we're not where we want to be, or probably where a lot of fans want us to be at this point in the season, but we still need our help from our home crowd coming out on Saturday night. So I encourage everybody to come out at 7 p.m. and support us, because we're a work in progress. We definitely got some work to do, but we need that atmosphere at Lubbers Stadium. We need that crowd for our team when heading back out there. They're have made a lot of changes at Findlay, starting with their head coach, and it's really infused a lot of energy into their program. They lost a tight one week 1, 14-10 to Northwood. They came back and lost a double overtime to who is currently undefeated Northern Michigan team. And last week they put it on Tiffin pretty good. They've got a transfer quarterback, Clay Belton, who's 6'6", and is a good player. He can run zone read and throw the ball. And Montre Williams, we've known, he's been in our league for a couple years. He's a tough running back, and he's very physical and hard to tackle. So we've got our work cut out for us on the defensive side of the ball, again, based on the personnel that they've put into that and also the schemes they're running. Their defense is a little bit undersized, but they do a lot different moving parts. They run a 4-down front, a 3-down front, a 3-3 stack. So it's going to be a challenge for our offense mentally to understand in the run game and in pass protections where we're working our accommodations, what we're doing. And so it's going to be a tough week. And I'm not just saying that to say it. Findlay's better. They're a lot better. This isn't the same Findlay that were 5 years ago. So we got another tough road challenge coming up. And we'll get back in with these guys and get back to work here today and work to get some of these problems that we've got, especially on the defensive side of the ball, corrected and come back out on Saturday night.
Coach, obviously outside of the things, you know, people are going to think the sky is falling. Inside, now that you've had a chance to watch tape, talk to the guys maybe a little bit, what's kind of the sense of the vibe or the mood?
There's disappointment. There's disappointment on the coaching staff. There's disappointment amongst the players, you know, on our 2 losses. But we still have a resilient group. You know, we have a resilient coaching staff. We have a resilient bunch of players. And we saw from week 2 to 3 weeks. Did we lose the game at Indy? Sure, we lost the game. We didn't play well at Indianapolis. We lost. But we saw some improvements on both sides of the ball. And our kids fought and battled. Never at one time throughout the course of that game. There could have been some finger pointing. We never had any dissension. Even in the locker room after the game, we didn't have any dissension. It was a disappointed group in the locker room after the game. But it's a group that, and again, I'll get a better feel for this afternoon when we have our meetings, is going to come back and fight. And again, it's tough. Nobody expected us, you know, within our building to be 1-2 after 3 ball games. And you know, but we've got some adversity, and how we handle adversity is going to, work to define us. And so I think, like I said, our group in our locker room has got to, bounce back. I think the thing a little bit that happened week 1 for week 2 to 3, and now has to happen from 3 to 4, is realizing it's hard to be good. It's hard to be excellent. Okay, nothing happens easy. And if times, there might have been some times in our program where we think that because we put on the Grand Valley State uniform and what has happened before that automatically means that we're going to be good, and it doesn't. What happened last year, what happened in 2002, what happened in 2005, all those things are irrelevant when it comes to performance relative to 2011. So, to a certain part of this, we talked about this as staff. If we would have came back and won the game, I'm sure it would have felt good. There might have been some people in our program that felt like, we're all right. We're not all right. And you have to understand that you're not good just because you put on the uniform that says Grand Valley across the front of it. Okay, that doesn't make you good. That's not a right that you're suddenly a good football player. You're a good football player because you spend a lot of time in preparation, and ultimately when you're on the field, you make plays. And we're not making enough plays as a football team to win football games. And that's a result of the work we're putting in, not the jersey on our back.
Heath, what's your assessment of how the guys are reacting in the locker room as a team outside of how the coaches are seeing things?
Yeah, I mean, like Coach said, we're disappointed. We're going to be upset. It's going to sting for a while until we get back out there Saturday, but there's never been any quit in our guys ever, so I wouldn't expect it to be any different now. We're going to get back in there today, get on the film, improve on what we need to improve upon, and we're going to come back out Saturday ready to go. So I'm not worried about our guys being down or giving up or anything, because we got a tough bunch of guys in there. So I'm not worried about that. It's more just getting prepared for Findlay.
Jarrod, same question.
Like you said, we're facing adversity, but everybody's, I think, is ready to come back to work. We got to find a way to turn this thing around. Nobody just wants to give up or quit or do anything like that. We're all staying positive, and it's a work in progress. Like Coach said, you can't just come in and expect things to happen anymore. I think we've learned that lesson twice now, and you know, we got to start playing up to our potential and you know, making the plays that we're coached and you know, we're supposed to make.
Coach, for lack of a better phrase, is it almost like a wake-up call in a way then?
Well, I don't think it's been I don't think it's a wake-up call because I think the message has been consistent, but maybe for some guys, I don't think all of our guys though. I mean, I think for some guys, you know, I'm hoping they're learning what this process is all about. And I especially hope that some of the younger players in our program are also seeing this too. That when they didn't get recruited here and they just think they're automatically going to be good because they got recruited here. And, you know, I think a little bit when it comes to certain position groups, I'll use the D-line as an example. Just because you think you're supposed to be good doesn't mean you're going to be good. And if anything, if you have to look back upon things and, you know, to a certain extent, I'm always a little bit positive and a glass half full guy in general. But when it came to our, you know, our defensive line, I was pretty excited about our defensive line and what the possibilities could be. And maybe, you know, looking back on things, we need to be a little bit, you know, more realistic about what you got to do to get better and get good, you know. So, you know, I look at last year's defense. They were told they weren't any good. You know, they're told they weren't any good. The guys kept fighting and playing hard and, you know, keep getting better and progressed and played well, you know, as the season progressed. And, you know, so I think the guys are smart enough to watch tape and realize we're not making the plays we need to make on the defensive side of the ball. There's only one to do. You got to get back to work, and you got to keep working on individual fundamental techniques, and you got to keep coaching them hard, put them in good positions, and you got to keep getting better on that side of the ball.
Coach, end of the half situations, Indianapolis was able to score at the end of the first half with under 10 seconds left. What's the fundamental thinking when a team is driving late in the half?
Anytime you have those situations, end of the half, end of the game, sacks and turnovers are critical. Sacks and turnovers are critical. We tell it all the time. We do 2-minute a lot with our squad. If you can get a sack or turnover, obviously a sack gets you to negative yardage. They've got to burn timeouts, you know, puts them in a hole, stuff like that. So, like I said, at the end of the half, we tried to generate a little bit more pressure. We gave up a big play to get them down inside. And so, to be honest with you, at the end of the game, I was a little bit more leery about playing man and trying to really dial up a ton of cover zero pressures and give up a big play. I was really hoping at that point that we could rush 4 and play some zone and be able to generate some pressure with the 4-down pass rush. We did not, Tim, generate pressure with the 4-down pass rush, and you know, he's a pretty good quarterback, was able to pick us apart. So, yeah, getting back to your original question, you got to try to get pressure on a quarterback on 2-minute situations. Everybody in the building knows they're going to throw the ball. There's no run pass at all. We got to pin our ears back. We got to get home. So, again, people can throw the DBs under the bus, say what they want about the defensive backs. It's a complete effort on the defensive side of the ball. And so we did not get enough pressure, in my opinion, throughout the course of the night relative to who we have up there.
As far as the turnover battle goes the past 2 weeks, how much does that concern you?
Well, first of all, with Hillsdale, they don't turn the ball over. So, I mean, Keith Otterbein does a great job in the way the offense, I mean, you have to get a fumble out of Glendenning pretty much to get a turnover. And their passing game isn't revolving around turnovers. So you could go back and look at the history of Hillsdale football for the last 10 years of their offense. You're not going to get turnovers when you play Hillsdale's offense. And we talked about that a lot heading into the game. I think the big difference between year 1 and year 2 of Mills, the quarterback, is he's being a lot smarter with the ball. And, you know, we're just he had a good game. He played pretty well. It wasn't like there's opportunities where he threw bad balls and we maybe could have got some interceptions, you know, that way. So I'm concerned we didn't get any turnovers this game because I really believe, heading into the thing, you know, it was our belief that we needed to get pressure on a quarterback, throw some bad balls. That's how you get interceptions. A lot of times interceptions are disguised in coverages and or you get pressure on a guy and he throws a bad ball. So I'm concerned about our lack of where we're at in a turnover margin is concerning. I would say this, when you look back upon 2 of Heath's interceptions, both at the end of the game, we're telling him to throw it up. You know, so you take that one out of the equation. He had 4 touchdown passes and 1 interception. And the 1 interception, you know, it's his fault, as were a couple of them that we had last week. One was on the receiver too. So our ball security and our running backs hanging on the ball, that's been a little bit of an issue too. So we got to continue to work on that. But one thing I didn't mention earlier was I thought we got more explosive runs out of Norman Schieffer and Hershey Jackson. We didn't mention that. That's one thing we did see happen. A lot better job with our wide receivers blocking downfield, and those guys made some cuts and made some guys miss in space, and so that was positive too. That's a positive thing we can put forward as our rushing attack.
Heath, what's your assessment of kind of how the turnover situation has gone recently?
Yeah, we have too many. Basically, that's what it comes down to. I'm turning the ball over too much. We put the ball on the ground, our running backs a couple times. It just needs to stop. I mean, there's no simple solution. It just has to stop. I need to make smarter decisions in the pocket, on the run, wherever I'm throwing the ball from, and just need to get better at it. That's basically all I can say.
Jarrod, obviously last year Findlay was not as strong a team as they are appearing to this year. How do you approach that, knowing that you know, they're not the same? They're a better caliber team.
You know, coaches told us that, you know, Indianapolis was a better team than last year. Hillsdale was a better team than last year. You know, I guess we're gonna have to approach it the same way we've approached every game, and that's, you know, like with a sense of urgency that, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that we need to put, you know, we need to put a 0 up on the scoreboard. You know, we need to keep them out of the end zone, keep them scoring as much as possible. You know, there's no different approach to each week. You know, essentially it's just you know, just to have a sense of urgency and understand that, you know, this is a good team that we're playing, and we can't just go out there and expect for things to happen for us.
Coach, how much could be made too of the fact that it seems like everybody in the GLIAC is a little bit stronger this year? I mean, it's not really, it doesn't seem like there's any pushover, so to speak.
No, you know, I would agree with that. There's only 3 undefeated teams in our league. And Saginaw didn't have a non-conference game, so Saginaw's undefeated, Northern Michigan's undefeated, and Wayne State's undefeated. So it certainly appears to be the case on the outside that maybe there's a little bit more parity than there has been in the past, but I don't want anybody watching this thing to think that that's an excuse for the reason we're 1 and 2 either. So I'm not promoting that our league is better, therefore we shouldn't be as good. That's not who we are. So we have the teams that are on our schedule, and we have to prepare for those teams on our schedule. So on the outside looking in, if I was a fan of GLIAC football, I would agree there's a lot more parity and stuff with that. That's irrelevant really to whether or not Grand Valley wins games.
Are you at a point at all where you're thinking about changing anything player-wise, schematically, anything like that on either side of the ball?
Offensively, not even close. Stuck with who we are from spring ball through fall camp, and have seen improvement overall in our offense from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. And we just have to clean up some of the things. So from a schematic standpoint, absolutely not. From a personnel standpoint, absolutely not. In fact, you know, people talked about our new starters in our offensive line. Our offensive line has done well. They have done well. They have lived up to the challenge. And like I said, maybe relating back to a thing like sometimes when you're a position group and you're told that you're not supposed to be good and you're supposed to stink, maybe you bite down your mouthpiece and you grind and you get better. Maybe that's what's happened with our offensive line. Where if you think heading into the season you're supposed to be a good position group and you don't fight and scratch and claw and work the way you need to work, then maybe you get complacent, you know. And if that has happened, that's my fault. Defensively, we may, you know, do some things a little bit different. You know, with our front, just a couple different moves, you know, doing some different things, maybe with some different guys in some different positions up front. But our linebackers are our linebackers. And to be honest with you, one other guy that I thought from a leadership standpoint and from making plays standpoint was one of the few bright spots in our defense was Brad Howard. His approach to his senior year has been much different than his previous years, and I think you're seeing evidence of that out there in terms of his play. So the back end of the defense, we have who we have, and we have to get better at that. It's the same thing, our defensive line, we have who we have. So at this point of the year, you're not picking anybody up off the waiver wire. The guys we have are good enough, they have to play better.
Coach, first and second down, it appears that the defensive line is getting a rush, and tackles for loss are up. And then third down, it just kind of seems like they're laying back a little bit. Is that a philosophy standpoint?
No, I mean, we still at the core of us are about stopping the run. So there's been times where we've been really good stopping the run, you know. some of that has to do with the defensive line up front. Some of it has to do with how we're fitting stuff up. Like our run defense, we had 2 plays where we misfit some stuff at Indianapolis, and we were out of position, and they cost us in the running game. Beyond that, and even looking back to Hillsdale, we had 1 play we misfit. We've done an okay job stopping the run. Again, we're not doing anything different than we have before on 3rd down. In fact, I've relied more on our 4-down pass rush, and those guys know they're passing the ball, and we just got to get on more edges, and we've got to get more productive, and we've got to win more one-on-one matchups. We've not won as many one-on-one matchups at our front as I expect us to. So the bottom line is those guys got to start winning some of those matchups. So at some point, too, it's a risk reward. Like you start thinking, all right, I'm going to bring a little bit more pressure, bring some linebackers, do some things like that. You leave yourself very bare in the back end of the defense, whether you're playing cover 0, man, and or if you want to try to play some zones, you're dealing with only 5 people in zone coverage or 6 people in zone coverage, and that's a risk reward thing. Okay, in my opinion, based on the people that we have up front and the way they're being coached, we need to get more production out of our 4-man pass rush than we have. And so that'll be the challenge to those guys heading into this week. Now, this week against Findlay, they're not going to do a whole lot of 5-step pass rush. Right? They're in a lot of zone read, and they do a lot of different things. And so those opportunities may not exist, present themselves as much as they have in the past week.